Nitrogen is required by all living organisms. Fertilizer addition of this nutrient is an essential component of crop management. While nitrogen addition has allowed crop production to feed the world, the benefits have come with well-documented environmental costs associated with water and air pollution. To better understand these benefits and costs, we will use a simulation model of cropping systems in north-central Iowa to track nitrogen as it flows between stalks, also known as reservoirs or pools. Nitrogen flows from the atmosphere to the soil, to crops, and out to streams or back to the atmosphere. The model will allow us to run experiments and ask what-if questions about the effects of crop and soil management options and climate change on nitrogen cycling. The goals are to develop nitrogen budgets and understand principles that guide management for crop productivity, soil conservation, and nitrate pollution reduction in stream flow. The experiments will also provide insight into how management at the local level influences regional and global nitrogen cycling. Here is the top level of the model. Note that we use the element symbol for nitrogen, N. Within the farm landscape, nitrogen cycles among storages in the atmosphere, soil, crops, and streams. Let's trace the flows through the agricultural system, starting with the atmospheric stock. Nitrogen stocks in the atmosphere flow into the farm's soil inorganic nitrogen stock naturally via the process of nitrogen fixation by legume crops, soybean and alfalfa. For other crops, such as corn, producers add nitrogen fertilizer. Soil inorganic nitrogen may flow to crops through nitrogen uptake or be assimilated by microbes to become soil organic nitrogen through immobilization by microbes. Soil inorganic nitrogen that is not assimilated by plants or microbes is vulnerable to denitrification by microbes and thus returns to the atmosphere. Approximately 20% of this nitrogen is in the form of nitrous oxide, a potent greenhouse gas. The excess inorganic nitrogen in the form of nitrate may also leach through the soil to streams on the farm and eventually reach the Gulf of Mexico. Cover crops and riparian forest buffer strips can reduce the flow of nitrate to streams. When crops are harvested, a portion of the nitrogen is exported from the site as yield, with the remainder of the crop, detritus or residue, flowing into the soil organic nitrogen stock. Soil organic nitrogen can be transformed into soil inorganic nitrogen via decomposition by microbes through the process of mineralization. Although not explicitly depicted, the model flows are controlled by these factors: precipitation, temperature, crop growth stage, maximum biomass attainable, and nitrogen fixation capacity. Because the water cycle is so integral for nitrogen cycling, this model includes a water submodel in which precipitation, temperature, and crops control water flows. The model is calibrated for a silty clay loam soil in a conventional agricultural system in north-central Iowa. If you are working with the model from within any Logic software, use the menu to select Model, Run, and then the model file, N, Cycling in Ag System. You can also use the keyboard shortcut F5. The model opens to the title page. Click Go to run the model. Select Lab from the Model pop-up menu, and then Experiment options for cropping system, fertilizer, and management. For type of cropping system, there are 3 choices: corn only, corn-soybean rotation, or perennial crop alfalfa. For the amount and timing of annual N fertilizer, there are several possibilities. Management alternatives include tilled, no-till, cover crop, buffer strip, or a combination of 3 targeted options. Leave the randomness option set to deterministic. Once the options are set for your experiment, click the Continue button. The model will run at its slowest speed for 10 years or 120 months. The current month is shown, as well as the stock levels, type of crop growing, and flow rates. Spring fertilizer is added directly to the inorganic stock in April and in October for the fall option. Corn is planted in April and soybean is planted in May. Corn is harvested in September and soybean in October. Alfalfa is harvested twice a year, in May and September. You can speed up or pause the model using the buttons on the control bar. The water model can be observed by clicking on the Water button in the navigation bar. Runtime graphs of stock levels and flow rates can be seen by clicking on items in the model or by clicking on the Rate Graph button in the navigation bar. To gather data for the experiment, the model automatically pauses before the last harvest of the model run. If the crop option of corn-soybean rotation is selected, the model will pause twice, once for the last harvest of corn and again for the last harvest of soybean. After gathering data from your experiment, click the red square Stop button on the top of the page to end the run and return to the startup page. You can click Go Again, set alternative options, and rerun the model to compare outcomes with those from previous runs. After trying different crop and soil management options, you will begin to understand how different practices can impact nitrogen cycling in the environment. Advanced options. With climate change off, the model uses temperature and precipitation means for the last 20 years for this location. To alter these climate variables, select the Climate Change checkbox and then vary the temperature and rainfall with the sliders. You can also run the model with stochastic rainfall and temperature by selecting one of the randomness options. In the interactive mode, the model gives the user a more authentic feel for the difficulty in running a farm and controlling nitrogen. After initially setting a management option, the model pauses each spring to allow you to set the cropping system and fertilizer for that season. When you run the model, monthly temperatures and precipitation varies around the mean. Other events can occur, such as drought or flooding rain. At the end of the year, when the crop is harvested, the price can vary, impacting profitability. A report is generated showing the annual results, both financially and in controlling nitrogen. A 10-year report is generated at the end of the run to give you a better idea of how well you did. We hope you enjoy experimenting with the model.